I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot because I am lonely. You know, when you're somebody who makes something, I wake up in the morning just going like, I don't want to suck.
When you come from culture of hip hop and culture of leftist politics, it's pretty easy to see through some shit.
Look, my job, I write for TV, I write movies. That is literally scripted, right? I'm comfortable in scripted. Unscripted shit makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. Anything in my life that's ever been good, it's draft 600, right? I'm legitimately sweating right now. Part of it is because I'm wearing a sweater inside, but also it's because I'm like
and a leather trench coat.
Yo, can I tell you? Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the inaugural episode of
The Chris Gabo Show, motherfucker, act like you know.
As we have DJ 100 Proof in the building. How are you doing today, sir?
Maintaining.
Yo, I appreciate you being here, man.
Of course.
It means a lot. This is
hearing your process for finding a guest made me feel like the chosen one or something.
You are the chosen one. We were like handsome, beautiful, sexy, and cute. You know what I mean? Those are two different, it's a discourse, different things.
We're bringing sexy back.
We are bringing sexy back. Sexy is back in the building. We have the young god, Reef Loretto, here, hidden behind us, making sure that everything sounds crispy. There's a lot of new hip-hop shit that I want to get into, it's Grammy season. And I want to first start out by shouting out two friends of the show. Surya Bodafacina just got 2 Grammy nominations. Actually, did he get 2? Anyway, he got Grammy nominations. My man Surya Bodafacina got Grammy nominated for his piano playing on the Andre album. I want to clap it up for him. That is, I'm going to put some fucking applause over there. I wish I had a little button, but we couldn't figure that out. And the homie Ebony Smith produced on the Rihanna Giddens record. It's called The Ballad of Sally Ann. That shit is amazing. Very, very excited about that. I also want to get into talking about the Doechii record and the Tyler record. How do you say that name? Chromakopia?
I think so, yes.
Chromakopia. Honestly, the fact that Doechii's record is up for Best New Album is like, I don't know if she's going to win because there is, do you remember, I don't remember who else is in that category, but I think that's like hands down the best rap album I've heard, like honestly, in a while.
In a very long time, especially I've followed her since Jump, like since her guest verse on the Isaiah Rashad record.
Oh shit.
Which blew my fucking mind. Like this was, I don't know, like 4 years ago plus probably. And I immediately had to go like find out who this girl was. Like it was incredible. And to hear the type of evolution that she's made where she can make like the singy house songs with SZA and like the super fire like double time rap shit, and now like boom bap, like head nodding, break your neck,
and it sounds modern. Bap. It sounds modern also.
Yeah,
it's boom bap, but it doesn't sound washed.
Yeah, and her pen is crazy,
insane,
like
insane. She's from my town. She's from Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
I've never heard someone say 813 and sound cool. I've attempted it, but when she said it, I was like,
That's fire, man. She's so talented. And I think like my point was that I knew she was this good at rapping, but I didn't know she would put out an album like this and it be just, clearly one of the best rap records that have come out in years. And
no, hands down.
Like this is from someone that doesn't even listen to hip hop too much anymore because the shit's just kind of sounds a little bit monotonous and tired in a lot of ways. This shit sounds like the stuff that made me fall in love with hip hop, but contemporary, and also from a woman that's just spitting crazy shit in the best way.
She's rapping her ass off, and also with like, what an addition to the TDE roster. I mean, that's fucking cool. Like.
And it makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense, bro. Okay, so we're gonna get back to Doechii, but I wanted to start by talking about the Tyler record, even though it wasn't nominated, just because it's brand new and it's on the top of everybody's mind. I just did my first full listen today and went back and kind of listened to some of the singles, and it really, I gotta say, like the production is just like so exciting. So surprising.
It's hella cinematic too, like
super cinematic.
Bombastically cinematic. Yeah.
It like, I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like, especially from the first joint, I was like, oh, because I've been wondering for a while, like, who's gonna, cycles happen through imitation. You know what I mean? And I've been sitting here going, like, who's gonna imitate like mid-career Kanye production styles? Like, when are we gonna see that, right? Because obviously, like, dude, it's the Kanye stuff is tough right now, bro. It just really,
he who shall not be named,
bro. No, it really is. And it's like, and again, speaking of, the sort of Chapo and Joe Budden Venn diagram, the thing that would annoy me is like the Chapo shit is just like, I agree with all the politics, but when, they're like making a reference and they're like, oh, this person fell off like U2 after their second album. I'm like, I actually now, you're talking about U2 as a thing that I should like viably ever listen to. I now can't have a conversation. You know what I mean? And so it's like, there's just something.
I mean, their theme song is chopped and screwed like Southern rap music.
But they don't. The only guy who listens to rap music, who I legitimately believe, is Felix, right?
He also complimented that country music star that's in the news right now. I just listened to that today. So
yeah,
anyway, they got diverse opinions, but
it's not. It is funny. It makes the look. I won't go too far down this road, but I love that theme song, right? But that's not. It's a little bit. It's cat. You know what I'm saying?
It's surface level.
Yeah. It makes it like I could see how someone would. Anyway, moving on. But it. Yeah, man. They're just like the Kanye thing, and I didn't expect to talk about Kanye, but now here I think Kanye does exemplify sort of this like, this cultural. Okay, look, there are still people who listen to Michael Jackson, even though he obviously molested those kids. And people are like, no, I can't let go of those records, whatever. And I don't have a judgment on that necessarily, right? Kanye is that for us. Do you know? And or at least it is for if you came up in hip hop, like, I don't know how you let go of those records as being fundamentally something. You know what I mean?
It's been a lot easier to let go of Kanye than Michael Jackson. I'll just put it that way.
That's interesting. That's it. But here, you know what? But the thing is, I didn't grow up with Michael Jackson. My parents didn't I came to Michael Jackson late, so I don't judge anyone for anything because I know that the thing about music is it's like, sex or food or whatever. It's a thing you cannot. You can like judge the reaction afterwards, but it's it goes so straight to the body that it's like you can't argue with a groove. You can't argue with you can say I am so disgusted by the reality that now the groove is tainted for me, but you can't argue with it in the moment, And dude, that Kanye arc, it really is like the most American villain arc ever.
I mean, it seems like he is trending with a lot of America currently and just becoming more of a trash human being, or at least being more willing to just show he's a trash human being. I think the difference for me, the Kanye trajectory of spiraling and becoming just a total dirtbag that I can't stand, is that it also coincided with his taste getting worse. His music getting worse, him being so high on his own supply and just surrounded by, like, even when Michael's later records weren't as good as his earlier ones, he was still working with fucking Teddy Riley and like really good producers that were getting the best out of him. Kanye doesn't have any of that. He's like, he is the dictator. He's the creative director. He's like, no one can tell him shit. And it clearly shows. Because like he's just been listening to himself for a decade, and this is where he's got himself.
No, 100%, 100%. And by the way, like, I'm not saying that. I mean, dude, the Kanye thing. I'm just saying that I get like defensive when I'm around when I'm in an argument where someone is like isn't gonna act like it's a loss. Do you know what I'm saying? And when I heard the first song on the Tyler record, I went, oh, this feels... Because you usually think of, like, the guys that Tyler's always talking about. I mean, he does talk about Kanye. He talks about Pharrell a lot. You know what I mean? And there is a lot of Pharrell, like, simplicity, like, three layers of instruments that does come up in
the
that
360
record.
holistic like persona of he's not just a rapper, but he, or like Tyler and Pharrell both have clothing brands. They're both super creative. They're both like creative directing things like, and I guess Kanye could be similar as well, but Pharrell has done it much more gracefully, I suppose, right?
100%. And I will be honest, like everything that like it's very common for artists to do now, like the extracurricular shit, I don't give a fuck about any of that. Like I understand people have to sell merch. You know what I'm saying? I've bought a lot of merch in my day. I've made a lot of merch in my day. But just in terms of like the production style, the sort of what you were calling the sort of cinematic bombast, right?
It's that, like theatrical.
It's theatrical. And also it's like, I'm trying to see if I can get some more specific language here. Because in the first, I guess what I would call like the first third of Chromakopia, I do see like Kanye-esque production elements, right? And maybe I'm hearing something that like I'm imagining it, but to me the like quintessential Kanye shit is the use of the human voice, right? And there's all these, I don't know if it's like the same, like he probably has like I didn't look at the credits, but I imagine it sounds to me, at least to my ear, that there is at least 4 singers, some sort of quartet that is used and utilized like in different ways throughout the record, right? And it's not ultralight beam, but it does feel like he's using the voice in a similar way, at least at the beginning of the record.
He also has college dropout narration throughout the entire
Okay, that's
record.
what I thought was unsuccessful. And it's funny that you said college dropout because what I heard was Pimp a Butterfly, and I literally was like, and I love Pimp a Butterfly, but I was like, no one should, like the repetition of his mom talking, dude, and I've done it. There are records that you'll never hear that have my mom talking on it, bro. And like occasionally, I understand why, because your mother is important to you. And I get the impulse, right? But like the repetition of it, I started to be like, it started to feel to me like I thought I was conflicted or whatever that thing is, Which every time we're in the car listening to Pimp a Butterfly, I'm like, bro, this is like the most beautiful record in the world, and it's like it ruins it for me. You know what I mean? So like that was one of the notes that I made, was I was like, no one should ever let their parent talk on a record ever again. Like that was my number one take. And then I also felt like,
That's a hot take.
you think it's a hot take?
I
Do
mean,
you like the mom stuff?
I wouldn't say I like it, but I didn't have that visceral of a reaction.
Dude, I had a visceral reaction. And it's funny that you said college dropout, because like to me the hallmarks of the college dropout stuff is that it's like comedy. You know what I mean?
It's Bernie Mac.
But
not his mom.
Hey, and I love
He's also like poking fun at hip hop in that shit the whole time.
Exactly. Whereas this is not quite that. And I want to get to the writing in a moment, but the production was the thing that first top of mind. What are your like standout joints from that record?
I'm about to crack open the notes app. I think I really liked a few of them. Rah Rah Rah, I think, is the second track on the record.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
That shit is a banger. Off top, I took a few notes here that Tyler is, in the sense of Kanye, that's comparable. And Kendrick and a few other rappers in general, contemporary especially, he is a pro at making albums. Like whole listening experience records that run front to back, and you are like, oh, I see the vision. I see what's happening here. Thematically, very good. I really liked the themes throughout the whole record. The flow and the sequencing, Lost Art, he nails it. Like, tells a story. It's got like a trajectory. I kind of felt the narrator helped with that flow. I didn't really feel one way or another about it. It just seemed like it kind of fit in that theme of like the albums that I remember that felt like real, like whole pieces of art, right? Not just singles thrown on a record. So all that to say, I'll talk about a few of my favorites now.
Please.
Rah Rah Rah, I just wrote banger. Like this shit just goes hard.
Yeah,
like
it's hard as fuck.
And the production is like almost breaknecky Kanye boom bap drums, but like in a fucking Sydney Opera House or something. You know what I mean? It's just like large. Sticky.
That's my joint. That's my. I was waiting. I was looking. I was like, I have. Yeah. I want to see the overlap.
Sticky goes. I mean, I don't have too many notes on the track other than like all the features were excellent. They fit super well. Everybody came correct. It's just a super like listenable, creative rap banger that could be on radio, but it's not made for radio. You know what I mean?
It's too cool for radio.
Yeah.
Because it has too much. I got to tell you, there's one production thing. Reef, let's remember this, okay? Because there was one production thing that I was like, I'm going to steal this. Which was that throughout the whole record, there's all these risers, that normally you associate with electronic production.
Yep.
But over like, it would be like a banjo and a fucking tuba and then like, you know, keys from like an acoustic piano, and then there would be a riser. And I was like, it would never dawn on me. We've been doing a lot of joints with our friends Chris and Jesse, shout out Like Minds, friends of the show, and I think I was telling you about them before. This beautiful vintage room, like, so I mean, honestly, they're the guys who I go to when I'm like, I feel like I need it to sound like Isaac Hayes and I cannot sample because I can't clear shit. And we go over there and they're like, oh yeah, we have the 1960s Mellotron, we have the 1970s drum kit preserved from. I mean, it's like these guys are just so talented and their collection is so beautiful and their sounds are amazing, right? But when I have Chris and Jesse play on something, I would never, ever, ever think to put a riser on something. And
that's also very Kanye, though.
It's very Kanye, but he did his own. Actually, I should have looked at the production credits because I don't know if you saw any of them. I don't know who was doing it, but if it's him or whatever, I'm sure it's a combination of stuff. But I found that to be really innovative, and I just, to me, one of the hallmarks of most shit that I like is a combination of old and new. You know what I mean? Like, I personally love Griselda, but I also understand why some people are like, this sounds dated in a way that isn't exciting to them. You know what I mean? I'm sympathetic to that argument, even though I could listen to Benny the Butcher all day, every day. You know what I mean? But I also like, people are like, those records aren't going up in the club. And again, not everything has to go up in the club, but we were from the generation, we're kind of the same generation, right? When the album was from whoever, if it was a top 10 rap artist in the mid 2000s, there were lyrical records, there were club records, and they were records for the strip club. You know what I mean? Primarily, I'm from the South. Like, that's what the dynamic, when you had to deliver on all the verticals. You know what I'm saying? You had to have one for the slab, you had to have one for radio, and it wasn't a time when radio was like, there was still kind of a divide between sort of urban and pop, you know what I mean? And so you didn't have to make an EDM sounding record with a rapper on it. You could have, I think Ludacris is one of the great examples of that. They were like, these were rap records, but they were big and lyrical. And actually, I'm going to bring up Ludacris again in a different scenario, but what I'm saying is that
big Ludacris fan over
dude,
here.
okay. Well, okay, so this is all right. Well, I want to just tell you. I want to tell you my two of the joints that so Sticky, I Thought I Was Dead, and I Killed You. Those were the ones where I was like, yo, these joints are fucking crazy.
I Thought I Was Dead.
Was that on your list too?
On my list.
All right, cool.
I said Schoolboy verse. Wow, this dude, quietly one of the best rappers in the game, even
100%.
though he doesn't,
not quietly to me,
even though he doesn't release a lot of stuff. I've seen him a couple times live. He sounds exactly like he does on record. His energy's crazy. I saw him perform with Anderson .Paak at the Bowl a few weeks ago, last month.
Okay, invite me next time. What the fuck?
I mean, pull up.
Jesus Christ.
So he's excellent. His verse was excellent. I wrote down, the only bar I wrote down from the entire album was on I Thought I Was Dead, just because I laughed out loud and I was like, that goes pretty hard too. Tyler says, I got too much drive. I'm a terabyte.
I did.
And I was okay. That's some contemporary hip hop nerd shit. That's also just like hustle culture shit that I just found very funny.
And this is sorry. Good, continue.
No, that's my thoughts on that song. I got a couple other songs that I could talk about too, but
No, tell me your other thoughts, and then I wanna use something to transition.
yeah, okay. So I think the other two songs that really hit for me on a completely different level, lyrically, emotionally, and like just thematically, I thought were really great. Were Hey Jane and Judge Judy, in the sense that they were like super deep and like conversational storytelling that I really like, a la like, you know, it's like Outcast joints or like Slick Rick or somebody that's just really good at storytelling. Like I thought he did a good job of kind of really placing you in a scene or in a conversation or in a situation. And also how he wrote from both people's perspectives in both songs. Like when I listened to Hey Jane, I was legitimately like, oh, he's emptying his heart out. This is like a real story. And maybe it is. I don't know. But he then writes from Jane's perspective about the whole shit too. And I was like, oh, I see what he's doing. He might just be illustrating this kind of scenario that he came up with. Like, I'll have to do some digging to know if that's like a real thing or not. And Judge Judy too, like two different songs about very different things, but both like, I thought encapsulated relationships, conversations, people that have been in therapy because they know how to talk about shit and their emotions and whatever.
I statements.
Yes, I statements. But it was just something I haven't heard from a rapper in a long time, let alone would have thought to hear that from him. I mean, I still have this version of Tyler in my head from when I saw him at like Sasquatch Music Festival like a decade ago, where he was just the most aggressive, aggro, like kind of dirtbag ass performance. And to see him like evolve to be able to do songs like this and an album like this is just really cool. Like, I think it's truly like shows how much of a unique creative mind he is.
I mean, in a way, it's like the opposite. If the Kanye arc is like Hometown Hero to like I Love Hitler, like, dude, we just, by the way, just like Jesus fucking Christ, right? Tyler, I was not a Tyler fan. The Odd Future stuff,
me neither.
And frankly, the locus of my distaste for Tyler was that I was like, this is extremely homophobic. And obviously there's hypocrisy there because I was listening to Eminem at the time, but I was like, at least his homophobia is like, I don't know. It was a little more technical. You know what I mean? To me,
it was also like a decade after Eminem's like
that's true.
Real serious homophobia.
That's true. I think of them as concurrent, but obviously like Tyler is M's kid. They have like a real relationship. You know what I mean? In terms of heritage. But I was like, oh, I can't listen to this. It's homophobic. Like, to go from homophobic dirtbag to queer icon is like, that's the opposite of the Kanye arc. That's like, I don't even know how you do that, bro.
I mean, therapy, bro.
Therapy. I mean, the fact that both him and Frank became like, you know, the only, at least for my mind, they were the two guys that I knew as like out, queer, and also respected in hip hop. I'd never seen that before, right? So that was like
and
very.
Sid was a member of that crew too, and Sid also is queer. So like, I feel like that Odd Future crew came into they found out who they were throughout, like, in a public eye in a way that it shows them evolving and being more themselves in a way that actually made even better art for them, which is cool because sometimes like it can go the opposite, right?
And it has.
Which we've been talking about.
Yo, I wish I could go back in time to like when Goblin came out and like put money on this guy's gonna win a GLAAD award. And I mean, you could have bought that stock at like $0 and now sold it for like some real money because, I mean, that was one of the big surprises in the whole thing for me. But I wanted to go back to Judge Judy and Hey Jane. Hey Jane is cool to me. But those were my least favorite records on the record. And it's funny because on paper, it's exactly what I'm like, yo, I bring storytelling back, all the old head shit that I'm always talking about. But like, I liked Hey Jane. Judge Judy, I laughed out. And again, the only reason I would ever say anything critical is only because I'm such a huge fan and I love the rest of the record. You know what I'm saying? So like this is just it's a question mark for me. Mm-hmm. There was a moment when he was I can't even like say the line. It was something like giving oral is my passion. You don't have to do it back. I went, okay, I fuck with the sentiment. Same. Love the sentiment. But I was like, the lyric is not there for me. And I remember going like, bro, not everyone is a sex rapper. Like, I don't want to hear everyone. There are people who can like really rap about anything. But to rap about sex, especially as a man and not sound insane.
Or like the Yin Yang Twins, like whispering in your ear like a sketch ball.
That works for me on some level. That works for me. But it's like, but again, this is where I was going to bring up Ludacris. Because I was like, Ludacris to me is like from that era my favorite sex rapper. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because it was, I don't know, like it was exaggerated and it was working with archetype and working with caricature. But it was still tan skin so, butter soft from ripping the buttons off your blouse. Like there was just, all Judge Judy doesn't have as much form in it, while the content I like. I mean, it's cool to hear these consent raps like in these like though that's dope to me, but they don't have the sort of shape that I'm used to hearing from Tyler. You know what I mean?
And they also are standout tracks on the album by being totally different from the rest of the album.
No, 100%. And it's one of those things where, like, I feel like so rarely do we give artists the chance to grow. That's why I'm not shitting on it. And I'm like, you know, I'm laughing a little bit. But it's beautiful to me to hear those. I mean, to hear him talk about, you know, I didn't mean to be flippant when I said those consent raps, but they are. He's like, there's no pressure this, you know, we are one. He's really in his polyamory bag right now.
Oh, he's on some like, I don't own you. Like,
I don't own you. You don't own me.
Like, I
love
want
all
you
that.
to do your, and that's the therapy raps I'm talking about.
No, exactly. Like, they're poly raps, they're consent raps, they're therapy raps, all things that I never thought I was going to get from rap music. You know what I mean? I always thought like I was going to sort of have to bifurcate myself, honestly, in order to like be in the culture always. And I think that he has talked about a similar thing, even on a more personal level. You know what I mean? So I love all those joints, but I remember being like, okay, I'm going to ask Jeff who his favorite sex rapper is. So that's my question for you. Who's your favorite sex rapper from childhood and who's your favorite sex rapper now?
Oh man, put me on the spot. Well, I'll tell you who my favorite sex rapper is not, because they rap about sex a lot and I think it's cringe as fuck, and that's Lil Wayne.
Dude, okay. It's really funny that you say that, because that's a guy, he's one of my favorite.
Excellent rapper.
He's one of my favorite English speakers.
When you rap about sex the way he does, it makes sex sound like
terrible.
Something I never want to do. Ever.
I was like, am I a Mormon, bro? Like,
yeah.
Do I no longer? I would always, and again, like and as we, you know, go from the music section to the politics section, and then we learn it's all one thing.
Right.
But, you know, to me, my most common critique of the American populace as to how it relates to the digestion of art is I'm like, Americans hate sex and love violence, right? And that's why, you know, there's no sex in movies anymore, and everyone's like, you know, in the Marvel movies, it's like no one has genitals and whatever, but they were gonna like stomp somebody's head to the ground. We're like, oh, let's watch Drive again, right? But when I'm listening to Wayne, I'm like, you know, bring back the violence. To be honest with you, and Safi and I both have that. We're like, when he starts talking about like, where was that? And I loved Funeral. I don't know if did you listen to Funeral at all?
I feel like I did.
I feel like nobody did.
It's not standing out in my brain.
The first 8 songs on Funeral, if it was an EP, that's my favorite Wayne album. It's so creative. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for him to be rapping at this level at this point in his career. But when he's like, titty fuck your baby mama, she breastfeed your child, will I do it? I was like, I'm going to hell for listening. I can't even I'm no longer having fun. You know what I'm saying? So The fact that you brought up Wayne, I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely on my list of who my favorite sex rappers are not.
Yes. And still up there in terms of like a good rapper. It's just, bro, like, we get it. You have been having sex since you were like 12. Like, chill, you know?
Which
like, and that's no shade to him. It's just, it doesn't make it sound good. It makes it sound like gross and aggro and kind of like fam.
No,
Like,
it literally,
chill.
I'm like, just please talk about murder.
Yeah.
I've never been like, please, I just want more murder raps. And it's interesting. Wayne is he is evidence to me that like everyone could use an editor, because rarely could you say this about any artist that they've made some of my favorite records and some of my least favorite records in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Usually when there's some, well, I guess that's kind of MO. So you're like, I mean, Eminem has a talent for making
Kanye.
interesting. At least with Kanye, I'm like, if you take Kanye off of it, love somebody. Like, that's how I feel about Yeezus. Like, I'm always writing to Yeezus beats because I'm like, yo, take Kanye the fuck off of this. There is no writing. It's complete nonsense.
I mean, I'm talking more like post Pablo Kanye, where like I've listened to a lot of it. I never listened to it more than once or twice.
Dude, these new, I've listened to Vultures
1 and
like,
2.
Well, I think I've listened to both of them. There's beats on those joints. Carnival is a cool, but again, like the writing is nonsense.
No, it's terrible.
Like legitimately, but on the worst Kanye record, there is music. On the worst Eminem record, it's like, yo, please, it's not even music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have plenty of Eminem opinions, but I'll finish your answer your question.
Finish the
about-
sex rap question.
I mean, the one and only that I really just immediately jumps to the top of my head is Too Short, obviously. Just some classic.
Because it's hilarious.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's over the top. It's clearly derogatory as fuck. But from like, I don't know, like a tongue-in-cheek, like over the top sentiment that I think, and it's just Bay Area shit, so it's got swag and it's like fun to listen to and comes off of like some, you know, some great production. I think if I was to pick from a DJ perspective, if I was to pick just like top sex rap song, or like even just rapper from one song, it's David Banner.
That's a really inclusive choice of you, inclusive of the South. I mean, I think the South has the best sex raps. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, of course, yeah, that's no question.
But in terms of like modern sex rap, to me, I'm like, it's obviously Megan, it's obviously Cardi.
Yeah.
And Megan in particular, because I'm like, dude, I was at a wedding recently, and Hot in Here came on, and I was like, okay, one of the greatest songs of all time, right? I wish I could write Hot in Here. Every year I try to write Hot in Here. I've never successfully written Hot in Here. But then WAP came on, and we were all like, it was me and the bridesmaids and like the groomsmen or whatever, and we were all like, I want to spit. I want to go. Like, yo, this is gonna be, this record's not going anywhere, bro.
I will say Megan and Cardi are both absolutely up there in terms, but I just came to a realization now that you did mention the ladies, potentially the all-time sex rapper, Lil' Kim.
It was disrespectful of me to not. Yes.
No, but I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, they're killing it right now, and for a long time.
We should make a modern era and a before the modern. Like Lil' Kim obviously is like before the modern era.
But she started sex raps.
Yeah,
I guess she and Too Short. But coming from a dude, it was like totally acceptable. But coming from literally ass Kim,
it's in the name.
Dude, bars and also like some great gritty like New York street rap shit, but it's about the nastiest stuff, like
Gangsta Boo also.
Yeah, true.
I mean, R.I.P. man, que descansa en paz, because like that was really true. Yeah. No,
I would say Lil' Kim is definitely up there, especially as one of the torchbearers. She kicked the whole shit off almost, I would say. Yeah,
I mean, Kim, you can follow the direct line from Kim to Cardi. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And like, the one thing I want to say about Meg is like, it's just always goes up because Megan's mom was a gangster rapper. Like, she can, and that's evident. It's evident, right? It's so technical It's so aggro. It's so on point. The imagery is nuts, and it's so funny. Like, I don't remember the exact line, but her line on WAP, when she was like, something to the effect of, switch my wig on and make him feel like he's cheating. I was like, whenever I hear that song, I'm like, Shakespeare, bro. I'm like, you can't be that. That's make him feel like he's cheating. I was like, bro, this is the funniest, hardest. And I've tried to memorize those flows. They're difficult flows.
She's crazy.
It's like
there's this viral. I mean, this was before I think she even released her first like industry record, but she had this viral video clip of her just like sitting outside the car with the door open, and the car was bumping fucking oh shit, I'm spacing on the name. Anyway, classic Houston record. And she just, still tipping, duh. And she just like absolutely annihilates it for like a minute and a half. And I was like, who are you? And are you about to be the most famous rapper in the world? Like, she's got it. Regardless of whatever she raps about, like, the talent is bananas.
No, dude, she honestly, I think, is one of my favorite rappers of the modern era. And shout out friend of the show, Kathy Ravuna, because when it was like, I don't know, it was like 3-4 years ago, or no, oh my God, dude, time is so truncated. This was like 7-8 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. It was like Tina Snow had just come out. And my friend Kathy was like, who has some of the best music taste ever, she was like, oh, there's this girl from Houston, like, you should check her out. And I was like, this is insane. And then like, I feel like the next day she was the biggest rapper in the world. You know what I mean? So one thing I wanted to say.
It's a great transition into Doechii.
I mean, bro, I could talk about that Doechii record again. Tampa 813. It's crazy. Honestly, like very hometown hero shit. But just like Nissan Altima.
Best song of the year. Top 3 at least, but
bro,
I think for me, like best song of the year.
Unbelievable.
I mean, okay, so also very probably shitty, problematic human being, but icon of hip house, Azalea Banks.
I love Azalea Banks, bro.
I love Azalea Banks.
Can I be honest?
Also love her being just out of pocket and insane. Like, she's clearly borderline unwell, but one of the reasons I like Nissan Altima so much is because I was very much in the streets DJing when 212 and Broke with Expensive Taste, like all her original shit came out, and it being like a bridge between these two worlds of like dance music and hip hop, that the like 90s house ballroom shit mixed with like New York rap, and to see her influence finally kind of coming to fruition in modern culture.
I didn't even think about that.
When I was like, this is the greatest shit hip hop has produced in so long, like when it came out, what was that, like 2007, 2008? I don't know, something around there. But like, it was the blog house era, so like it made a lot of sense that she was doing it, but I don't think the real heads knew, but I don't think mainstream culture knew what she was doing.
No, I didn't understand that tempo. I mean, that record was like, I mean, it was like I had discovered it. I felt like a child who'd never eaten sweets before and then like had glucose for the first time. And, like,
shit!
Like that's how I felt when I heard 212.
Yeah,
but I didn't understand the Ballhouse references and that whole tempo, that whole genre. I mean, I didn't get it in what it was until much, much later.
And it's also beautiful. I mean, a New Yorker over here. Like,
I'm from Florida. My family is in New York, but yeah.
You know,
dual citizenship.
Borderline.
Borderline personality. What are you trying to say?
just own it all, man. It's all fine.
I'm gonna cut that up. It's gonna be like Chris, borderline like personality disorder. Continue.
That it's the first time in that modern era of hip hop being the genre of America that it embraced, especially a New York hip hop artist, embracing the roots of dance music and hip hop again, like classic house music, loft disco shit, like ballroom, all of that is so New York, and so it felt like it was so completely like segmented from hip hop for a very long time, unless you're talking like 90s house pop shit, like, you know, certain pop records that had some semblance of like rapping on it, but it's not the same, right? Like, and I think what she did and what is happening now is realizing that these two elements like kind of were birthed out of each other and do belong together in so many ways. Like, they sound so good. And for all of the tracks on Doechii's record, I think one of the reasons that stands out to me is because I just listen to a lot more dance music and love it in a way that I didn't really allow myself when I was younger.
Same.
But it's also allows her to rap better than any other song on the shit. And like the cadences, the tempo, like my homie, shout out, like one of the triple OGs of this DJ and record collector shit, my homie Supreme LaRock posted on his Instagram story, someone made a blend of her vocals over Big Daddy Kane. It sounded like it was straight out of 91. Yeah. And people breaking and everybody like, you know, fucking shouting along with, like, it hit. It sounded at home in that space. And I think that upbeat dance, house, breakdance, like disco, all of that, I think is a great it's a great space for rappers that can really rap to fucking go in.
To go crazy.
Yeah,
no, 100%. I want to say a couple things about Azealia Banks, which is number one, you know, there are some people where you're like, oh, that person's problem, and you don't know why they're problematic. Like, I have no idea. I have no idea what any of the Azealia Banks controversy is. And I'm like, yo, our friend Mayada said this the other day, you know, something to the effect of like, I support women's rights and women's wrongs. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, I shoot bail to men for the craziest shit. I'm like, fuck it. Why can't, you know what I mean? Like, why don't I don't give a fuck.
No, man,
I'm so pro Azealia Banks.
I love her.
I mean, if I'm gonna sit here and make excuse for Eminem, I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Like, Azealia Banks is.
I think I say like she's borderline unwell because I think a lot of shit happened to her in the industry. There's some stories about all that, but she's just like, come one, come all. I'm gonna talk my shit, and I think I respect that about her, even if I find some of her takes to be just.
Don't tell me. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to know the takes. I don't want to know the takes.
Ridiculous. I mean, just stay away from her Instagram or Twitter or whatever.
I will. I think, honestly, like, we know too much about our artists. Honestly, like, I wish I knew less about everybody. And actually, so, fun piece of trivia. Azealia Banks recorded 212 at the Space Pit in Greenpoint. And you know Nick Hook? Mm-hmm. So, Nick Hook engineered that session, and the distortion, that was his idea. And I started recording at the space. Basically, I had a commercial agent at the time. I booked 2 commercials in the 3,000 years that I was with them. And one of them, I made some money. And I was like, I'm going to go make a record, right? And I went to see Killer Mike. Killer Mike was playing at NYU. And afterwards, I talked to DJ Trackstar. And I was like, yo, where do you guys record in New York? And he was like, the Space Pit. So I recorded an album at the Space Pit. And that's where I met Nick Hook. And that's when he was like, yo, we did 212 here. So I felt like it was cool. We recorded at the place where they did 212 for a little bit, and that was a good time. It was also a good time to, like, you know, New York, when a rapper comes out of New York, and like, there's so much pressure, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like she alleviated that pressure with that tempo, with those references.
By being completely uncomparable.
Uncomparable, bro. Do you know, you listen to Cakes of Killa at all?
I don't think so.
You should, Cakes of Killa, he was, and speaking of like openly queer artists, he was the first dude who I ever heard. I mean, it was like, again, this was another moment where I was like, I've never heard anything like this. You know what I mean? I mean, it was like the most lyrical New York shit, and he was talking about like, you know, nutting on your 6-pack. Like, it was crazy. I was like, yo, I didn't even know you could do that. You should look up a song called Snow Bunnies. It's the hardest shit in the world. He was actually, did you ever see the show Rhythm and Flow?
Yeah.
He didn't get very far, but he was one of the contestants on that show. That's some people know him. But a friend of mine, shout out friend of the show, Sam Katz, is his producer primarily. And when I heard Nissan Altima, I went, oh, this sounds like a Sam Katz beat. And Sam started making that style for Cakes, right? Actually, I forget what Cakes' last record is called, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to send it to you. You're going to really, I think, really fuck with it. It's kind of all at that tempo. And again, like, I'm from the South and I grew up, really just like trying to rap like I was from New York because my parents were, New Yorkers. And so like, I like slow tempos. You know what I mean? Anything, our friend Hisham, shout out Hisham Faghi, friend of the show, like I'm going to say friend of the show about like, but it's fun to say, man, because I'm like, you don't know it. You're my friend. So I'm going to say friend of the show until you send me a fucking cease and desist.
That's a sign that you listen to a lot of podcasts.
I listen to like 7 hours of podcasts a day because I'm lonely. Someone hang out with me.
You are a friend of the show.
I literally, yeah, exactly. But
of every show.
No, when, Hisham, when he DJs, I literally was like, oh, this is I've never listened to anything above 110. That's not a tempo I'm familiar with. And I also we have one song on the new record. Shout out Richie Barrett.
Friend of the show, 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 friend of the show.
He brought me a tempo that was kind of a house tempo. And at the beginning I was like, yo, I don't want to sound like I'm just like doing the sound that's now the sound if I don't. And I found my way into it. And I actually like now really love that tempo. But I had just never heard anyone rap to a beat like that ever, right? And it really went from Azealia Banks to Cakes, and then hearing Doechii on this, it's like, I don't know, super, super exciting shit. So why don't I want to show you a new joint that you haven't heard from an up-and-coming group real quick. Why don't we do that, take a little break, and then get into the rest of the shit? Does that work?
Sounds great.
We be steady, mobbing, whole squad, locked in, haters be watching, yeah, it's on it, poppin', really ain't no other options, back it up when we talk shit, Christoph in your top 10. My posse on Broadway, shoulders real broad, ayy. In my city, you might get checked. We talking broad day, mentality, your lifestyle. Mobbing like we psycho. 3 Virgils with the static, you know who? Not Mike Jones, it's BK when we creepin' like a panther. This joint way too goddamn smooth to be your anthem. On the contrary, don't this record ooze platinum? Nintendo Switch moving quick like a pack of Raptors. Can't ever get caught lacking. If you wanna pop off, put the top back like that and see what happens. Stay in your lane or get cut off like we planning traffic. Get it, got it, good, great, don't make no mistakes, yeah. Don't play with no fakes, yeah. We do what it takes. We be steady, mobbing, whole squad, locked in. Haters be watching, yeah, it's on it, poppin'. Really ain't no other options. Back it up when we talk shit. Christoph in your top 10. Ayy, we be steady, mobbing, whole squad, locked in. Haters be watching, yeah, it's on it, poppin'. Really ain't no other options. Back it up when we talk shit. Christoph in your top 10. Top 10.
Bitch, we wired different, we ain't talking electronics. Yeah, we smoking so much chronic till our eyes, they look demonic. Mind running 100 miles per hour like it's Sonic. Got these metaphors and similes, the memory that's mnemonic. I don't do this for no profit, powder grip like rosin, off the top like soffits, braise the beef till soften. Yeah, it's my turn, ain't no talking. Lines and hooks, no fishing. Got them all hooks, these symptoms. Whole block shuddering, itching. Focus on my vision. Flipped us off like Eric Costin. Staying constant in the pocket. Attach the keys like Tamagotchi. Pattern T, the kicks are solid. Watch ain't got no minerals on it. See through your shit, that's what minimal optics. Internet warriors typing, not talking.
We be steady, mobbing, whole squad, locked in. Haters be watching, yeah, it's on it, poppin'. Really ain't no other options. Back it up when we talk shit. Christoph in your top 10. Ayy.
Smoking, tropic, one hit, drop kick. We been plotting, weighing all our options. Wave away my ops. Haters make me nauseous. Shot-town made me cautious. Stone cold like Steve Austin. Greatness is exhausting. Ooh, I'm the truth. What am I to do? Boo, I just play the game. Shame, I don't make the rules. Ooh, ooh, I got the juice. Pray I don't eat the strange fruit. They send shots, I never bruise. I'm too hot, never cool. Got no chill. Matter of fact, I'm heated. Wish they cared for niggas half as much they claim they care for fetus. They neck at my fingers, take a breather. Swear a nigga need it. Refresh my demeanor. Steady, mobbing. BK been a problem. We lay on your noggin. ABA, these niggas ballin'. Hoopin', stupid. Truth is barely lucid. That means I do this in my sleep. One blink, I Freddy Krueger.
That shit is crazy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That was Steady Mobbin' by Black Christoph. Follow them everywhere. It's BLACC Christoph, KRISTOFF, featuring Polacco. Listen, man, that song is very special to me. Shout out Black Christoph, shout out Polacco, shout out Sean Peace, shout out Nate Marshall for introducing us. And
that goes hard.
Yo, it goes hard as fuck.
Where are they from?
Delegates from Chicago.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say it sounds like a Twista beat,
100%,
or like 8-Ball and MJG or something. But I hear Twista all over that, even though they're not rapping like him. I was like, is this Chicago?
Yeah, I think the delegates from the Midwest will be happy to hear that. There is talk of them coming to Los Angeles to maybe do a 420 show together. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And look, this is going to be a tough transition, but you know, I've been thinking.
I got one thing.
Tell me.
I got one thing. You asked if I wanted to share a song.
Oh, yo, you have something?
I do.
Bro, share that shit.
Can I share something with you that's from my hometown, from Seattle?
Yes. Can I play it off the speaker? Or
yeah, of course. I'll just text it to you if you want.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
It is. It's criminally slept on. It doesn't have a whole lot of plays on Spotify or YouTube.
You know, I've been thinking.
I got one thing.
Tell me.
I got one thing. You asked if I wanted to share a song.
Oh, yo, you have something?
I do.
Bro, share that shit.
Can I share something with you that's from my hometown, from Seattle?
Yes. Can I play it off the speaker? Or
yeah, of course. I'll just text it to you if you want.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
It is. It's criminally slept on. It doesn't have a whole lot of plays on Spotify or YouTube, which baffles my mind because this shit is excellent. And two very good people from Seattle on the hip house tip. And it's just raw and hella good. And the music video is fucking hilarious. So I'm sending it to you right now so you can play.
That shit.
Visualize it like it's in front of me.
Oh shit.
Like it's in front of me. Don't worry about the time, but this life get to running G. Life get to running, never know that day when your clock goes nil. Clock goes nil, but I'm feeling top notch when I'm caught on the thrill. Caught on the thrill, I'm a ghoul, I'm Mike with the melanin. Bruce Will, bitch, I'm right in my element. Yeah, for real, she looking so elegant. I did it so thorough, she ended up telling her. Feeling so pure when my medicine stank. Got the cure with the Dawn in my drink. Now I got money on the brain, all gas, full tank. Whiplash to the motherfucking bank, dear God. Still gotta spend a little something. Looking for a plug-in, cash gotta come in. Never me sluffing, Jay stay puffin'. You ain't doing nothing, money probably bugging. Mad dog chugging, gross. Jameson with the brain near. Gross, your boy keep it clean over here. So, you against me, oh dear. No, dear God. Still put a bun in the oven. Known for the loving. Tell me when I'm clubbing. I ain't never clubbing. Probably into something. You ain't doing nothing. Money probably bugging. Mad dog chugging. Gross. Jameson with the brain near. Gross. Your boy keep it clean over here. So, you against me, oh dear. No, dear God. I spit that mirror, never all saw. How you win VP, but your team lost? How you popping off IG full of pot? How your girl don't know about a G-spot? I get the bustin' like a G-like, different vibe, but the beat not. Call me by choice, avoid with the PK. Made a pro chick go freak when the beat drop. Please, little nigga, I'm niche. Keep quiet when the real nigga speak, capiche? Heard your girl got you on the lead. Nigga, no tough talk when you speaking to me. Slept on, but I do not sleep. Kept going to them racks, stack up to my chick. I'm just doing me with a trick up my sleeve. And the back up playing like beat through C, dear God. Still put a bun in the oven. Known for the loving. Tell me when I'm clubbing. I ain't never clubbing. Probably into something. You ain't doing nothing. Money probably bugging. Mad dog chugging. Gross. fucking. Cash gotta come in, never me sluffing. Dre stay puffin', you ain't doing nothing. Money probably bugging, mad dog chugging. Gross, Jameson with the brain near. Gross, your boy keep it clean over here. So, you against me, oh dear. No, dear God.
God damn. Yo.
Dear goddamn.
Dear goddamn with 2 E's. You can't see it right now, but the young god Reef Loretto is really into that joint too. That's going in the next Reef Loretto DJ
I'm
set. I
saying
can feel
hip
it.
house is it right now. It's
Yo.
It's it.
It's just exciting. It's an exciting tempo. It's an exciting tempo.
Yeah.
And this is coming from
House
somebody.
music is black music though.
You know
And
that,
and it's shout out Channel Trace, shout out Duckworth, shout out like there, you just go down the list. Like there's so many artists that are making, like Joey Perp from Chicago, like
Yep.
that are making this 110 to 125 BPM rap shit that is so good. And like I think that's gonna be the next like big wave. I mean, it's already here, but it's not like on a level that I think it's going to get to.
no, I think that in like, you know, a year and a half time, we're going to hear like Wayne on a hip house record. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is coming. I think that is very much coming.
I hope he's not rapping about sex.
Speaking of creative people, you know, needing a place to shine and more exposure, one of the primary ways when we think about as artists, when we like pray at night, when we're making our duets and we're thinking, yo, I need something to happen, right? What's the primary thing you think about? A New York Times review. You're like, please, John Caramonica review this record. Please, Joe Coscarelli review this record, right? Because it's the paper of record. And now here we are at a time where the New York Times could not be more illegitimate, could not be more of a piece of shit. I mean, and here's the thing, as we were talking about before we started recording, again, they were the architects of the Iraq War. You know what I mean? They were the mouthpiece. They've always been the mouthpiece for warmongering. They've always been the mouthpiece for, you know, the right dressed up in different packaging. Sometimes it's nice to hear like just analysis from people who are not inside of it, because the critic's voice is often quieter, because they're shyer, because they do not make the thing, right? These are people who just think about music all day, and that is soothing to me. And again, a New York Times review is a thing that like most people, if they're honest and they're artists and they're trying to have a career, unless they're on some super duper independent fuck the system shit, which is tough to maintain, you do need the legitimacy of these major outlets. And now, again, look, I'm not going to pretend that I'm in a situation where I'm like, you know, John Caramonica calls me every day and I'm like, no, you know what I mean? I'm not pretending, but it is a thing that I've been thinking about, where I'm like, okay, like that's a building that I would like to see burned to the ground. And at the same time, you know, you're like, yo, those cosigns are helpful for artists. You know what I mean?
I see your perspective. I think if you're an artist that's getting a Grammy nom or getting a New York Times or, you know, one of those large papers of record like cosign or review or article written about you, like I think that's a very normal and traditional way of viewing like that you've made it or that you get like legitimacy. But I don't, like, aside from the New York Times being trash.
Asa, you had a breaking story this week that was an update from the one that we talked about last week about the violent Israeli football fan thugs in Amsterdam, and more of the fallout on how the corporate media has capitulated to Israel's version of events.
Yeah, that's right, Nora. So my latest story is titled NY Times Killed Investigation of Israeli Hooligans Internal Email Reveals, and we managed to obtain an email, an internal New York Times email, and when I say obtain, the poor guy CC'd us by mistake.
All the institutions are crumbling. You know what I mean? And for those I have friends who've been on the left for so long that they're like, they say shit to me like, the New York Times has always been an arm of capital. How have you not seen this, my brother? Rise from the wood. And I'm like, okay. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. And again, by the way, like, I think that one of the important things about this podcast is I'm like, I don't know that we claim to be anything as much as inshallah, you're going to watch point of views grow. You know what I'm saying? I don't, for example, like, I don't necessarily say like, oh, I'm a Marxist, because I haven't read enough Marx. Do you know what I'm saying? I know people who have, and I feel that, the more I learn, my views are not trending toward the right. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think that, continue.
One thing, you're a Marxist because Marx inherently was a critique. All he did was he was a critiquer and an analyst of capitalism. Like, Marxism isn't how people use it as a derogatory statement. It's not like an ism. It's not like a thing. It's not like capitalism or communism. Marxism is in direct opposition and analytic and breaking down and critiquing capitalism. It's like, it's a school of thought.
And when you say, comparing Marxism to communism, do you think that like you have to have more, if you were to say like, oh, I'm a communist, that is different than being like, I'm a Marxist, because you have to believe certain, is that?
Well, I would just recommend anybody that's curious about the differences between all these things, and specifically why Marxism is, I don't know, something I think that in America, obviously no normal American can pinpoint why it's not okay to be Marxist or even talk about it or read it or whatever. It's just like a taboo thing, I think, from just generational brainwashing. For a good reason. We live in capitalist America, and it's critiquing everything we hold dear, right? But if you're interested, like this dude, Richard Wolff, is a professor, a Marxist professor of economics who went to like fucking Stanford, Yale, like one other big school, and he's all over the podosphere and YouTube, and probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever heard talk about economics. And he will, you can't listen to him, especially in today's day and age, and be like, oh, well, fuck that. That sounds stupid. Everything about Marxism that's a critique of the world we live in, you're like, oh, well, that I get it. That fucking makes sense. And I think most people, if they were to listen to someone intelligent talk about the problems with capitalism, 90% of the people would be like, he's got a point. And the number one thing that I took away from it that I think is a good reframing and a rebrand that I think critiques of capitalism can use, because oftentimes everything gets framed through this right-wing like soundbite lane, is just reframing socialism or reframing communism or reframing any critique of capitalism through this lens of like, oh, you like democracy? It's economic democracy. We live in, essentially everything in Western culture worships this idea of democracy, even if it's not true. But it stops when we talk about money and we talk about workers and we talk about anything. So that's essentially reframing this shit as like economic democracy versus economic authoritarianism or fascism, so to speak, which is, I think, the easiest rebrand in the world for most people to be like, no, I see what you mean. Like, yeah, my boss is a shithead that doesn't listen to anything I say, even though I make him money, like.
And my boss doesn't do the work.
Or is willing to listen to anyone that has good ideas, like it's that type of thing. So sorry to get on a tangent, but
no, this is important and helpful.
Yeah. So I would recommend listening to this dude. and you will learn a lot.
I saw you listening in the car the other day, and I meant to write it down, so now I have it written down. I'm going to check him out. No, please, because it's funny that you talk about Marxism as being a taboo topic. I'm Colombian from Florida. I knew a lot of Latinos that, from different certain places, which I will not mention. No, but really, like, the word that was the boogeyman for us was communism, not Marxism. I feel like I only learned about Marx and what that was all about kind of later, where I always understood that communism was sort of the big bad because, there's a lot of people. It really, now I can see it and go, oh, okay, what's going on in Florida is you have, people like a lot of usually white Cubans who come to Florida who were like, they're like, communism took away my house, my farm, or whatever. And when you're a kid and you don't have information, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry they took that away from you. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, they took away your slaves. That's what was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They took away the guy that was tying your shoes. Okay. So now, then that's where that's the nexus of the reactionary thought that I was raised not with, but around. Right.
And it's also like all of this shit is presumed to happen in a vacuum, especially Latin America. Like whether it's country that shall not be named with leader who shall not be named, or anywhere in Central South America, like everything, like, communism's impact or whatever is supposedly devoid of any context from like influence from the United States of like, oh, there's reasons why these countries are in terrible shape. It's because our country makes life a living hell for them by divesting, blockading, sanctioning, trying to steal their oil, trying to overturn their elections. Like, just do like the slightest surface level history lesson in any of those places. And there's a reason why the revolution happened there anyway. It's because America was fucking up. They were fucking everybody over. So it's like, that's the thing about specifically our hemisphere, Monroe Doctrine, whatever. It's all in the context of what our country is doing.
I think of myself as having been on the anti-imperialist left since middle school, right? But I don't think I had class consciousness until like, I don't know, like my mid-20s, you know what I mean? And, for me, a lot of that was also, I grew up as a non-black mestizo Latino in the American South, where the kind of, the obvious dichotomy is blackness and whiteness. You know what I mean? And I like black music, and I didn't really know what white music was, except for like, punk hardcore, which even then, like, I didn't think of that as white music because all the guys that I knew who made that type of music were Latino, pretty much,
And all contemporary white music is black music,
100%,
rebranded and evolved to a less authentic version of what it used to be.
And I sort of had language around that, right? But primarily, like, the nexus of my politics, and the reason why I would call it anti-imperialism is because it was, a radicalization that came from post 9/11, understanding what the Bush administration was doing, understanding this war of regret. I mean, I remember the first thought that I ever had, and dude, my Dia was in the Twin Towers. She got out and she was good. She actually forgot her purse, went back upstairs and like got back. People didn't know what was going on, right? And I have a lot of my friends are New Yorkers, you know what I mean? And I have friends who, have friends that are firefighters and different stuff. So like, I understood why, look, all loss of life is tragedy to me. Is how I was raised. But I remember thinking, even as a kid, I was like, 2 towers? was like, bro, we bombed the fuck out of every...
Interruption, thematically relevant tangent.
Dear Ryan Gallagher, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure you're listening because you're such a supportive friend, bro. Like, I've been thinking about you lately because I've been replaying this moment in a conversation we had recently. And you said something that was so funny to me. I don't remember. I wish I knew what was leading up to it because I'm sure it would be informative. But I'll remember. I don't remember the setup, but I remember the punchline. And the punchline was I finished saying whatever the fuck I was saying. There was a long pause on the phone. And then you said, "Are you trying to radicalize me, you fuck?" And I burst out laughing. I've never laughed longer. It was like one of the most beautiful things. It was so fucking funny. And I think that you could be the Irish Brooklyn version of John Brown. I think you could have a revolutionary history. And I just wanted to take this moment out to say that to you because I thought about you as I was watching this edit. Because I remember I was telling you something about my novel and you were like, just no 9/11 shit, okay? Just that's my limit. No 9/11 shit. And I feel you. And I was like, I almost got nervous. Like my heart was beating. I was like, I wonder if this is where Ryan like shuts this off. I remember thinking even as a kid, I was like, 2 towers? It's like, bro, we bombed the fuck out of every, so I was like, so either all human life is important or no human life is important. And when I realized that the callousness with which we destroyed other people's shit, I felt like the first thought I had as an American child was I was like, oh, we're crybabies and bullies. Because when we do it to other people, we're supposed to not give a fuck, right?
The reason I'm wearing sunglasses is my eyes fucked up. There's gonna, if you want to hear the rest of me and Jeff's conversation, that'll be on Patreon. It's gonna be free episode, Patreon episode every other. So I don't know. That's the shit that I like. That's the shit that I am a user and a pusher in this thing. So anyway, I fucking love podcasts. Whatever. Thank you for listening. I want to play new music on the show. If you have music that you have the rights to, email me at thechrisgaboshow@gmail.com. There's also, I kind of want to do this relationship advice thing with a homie of mine. So if there is a relationship, it could be romantic, it could be friendship, it could be anything, where you're like, oh, I need some advice, some on-air advice, right? Send me a little fucking voice memo and just send it to that email. Email thechrisgaboshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I love you very much. Bye-bye. This episode features music by Richie Beretta, Surya Bodofacina, and Like Minds. Thank you guys.